Dear viewers, immigration rules are frequently changing, which is very important for migrant community and all of us. Why won't the world tackle the refugee crisis? Are the High Court judges under pressure by government policy? How deporting people silently? Why immigration detention center misbehaves with detainees? Is the immigration enforcement used by government lawfully? How immigrants are victim of domestic violence? What will be the UK relationship with the European Union after Brexit? Fear spreads. Protests across the world. We should know the reality. I try to collect all the latest immigration news regularly. If you like this video, please stay with us to follow my Facebook page and YouTube channel, and don't forget to like, comment, subscribe and share with your friends. Let's go to the news. Child was held for a staggering 151 days in men's immigration lockup Morton Hall in Lincolnshire. Today's inspection report reveals that children were detained among 400 adults. One detainee had been convicted of multiple offences against children. A child was held for 151 days in a dangerous and prison-like UK immigration removal centre among adult men. Other children were held for 12 days and 36 days at Morton Hall, where staff had failed to put a convicted child abuser on their list of detainees who might pose a risk to children. Named and shamed. EU countries are failing to share responsibility for refugees. There are currently an estimated 22.5 million people living as refugees around the world. On July 10th, representatives from more than 80 countries gathered at the Palais des Nations in Geneva to discuss how best to share responsibility for them. Organized by UNHCR, the discussion will inform a new global compact on refugees, which is being developed in the hope of addressing the long-term challenges associated with displacement. But Europe faces a responsibility-sharing crisis of its own. Think tank claims a soft Brexit would be a disaster for UK immigration. A soft Brexit would be a disaster for the UK, as the country would remain subject to rules on freedom of movement but have no power or influence over who comes and goes from the European Union, it is claimed. Two Indian restaurants in Cambridge raided over illegal immigrants and now face massive fines. Immigration officials swooped on two Indian restaurants in Cambridge, making several arrests, and now the owners face massive fines. Officers from the UK Visas and Immigration, formerly the UK Border Agency, raided the Curry Queen in Mill Road after a tip-off, and the Meghna exotic Bangladeshi and Indian cuisine eatery in Victoria Road. They arrested 4 men in total, 2 from Bangladesh and the other from India, who were found to be working illegally. Theresa May's tough line on immigration punishes British children. To them it's just another number, someone else being sent back. But when you've got 3 children being left without their dad, it's quite major. Behave or get deported, says G4S. The world's biggest security company, landlord to asylum seekers, threatens tenants with expulsion from the UK. About 900 people who are seeking asylum live in the city of Sheffield, in South Yorkshire. For 5 years, G4S, the world's largest security company, has held the government contract to accommodate them whilst they await the outcome of their claims for asylum. The government doesn't care about immigrants like May Brown. In one of the particularly devastating developments of late, it was revealed that Mae Brown, the leukemia patient who launched a successful campaign against the Home Office's rejection of her sister's visa for a life-saving stem cell transplant, died last week. When it comes to immigration, Theresa May seems to have no idea what she is doing. Recent evidence on immigration shows the UK government is far from taking back control. The UK government has no idea what it is doing. Or its approach is woefully inadequate, at least. Immigration policies made in the dark, committee warns. Immigration policies are being formulated in the dark, committee warns, as it criticizes the quality of the migration data the government bases its decisions on. The Lords Economic Affairs Committee has warned Whitehall will struggle to control immigration post-Brexit unless major improvements are made to the quality of migration data upon which it relies. UK visa staff have lost sight of purpose as Iranian illustrator refused entry to Edinburgh Book Festival. Visa staff in Britain have lost sight of what immigration rules are intended to achieve, according to a senior Scottish MP, who has described the refusal of a visa for an acclaimed Iranian illustrator of children's books as a nonsense. Stuart MacDonald, the SNP's frontbench spokesperson on immigration, was speaking after the campaigning group Scottish Pen condemned the Home Office's refusal to grant the visa to Abdullahi to attend the Edinburgh International Book Festival. Described by Book Festival director Nick Barley as a highly respected, award-winning Iranian illustrator of kids' books, Abdullahi was due to arrive in the UK early next month, but he has received a visa refusal letter, issued by the British Embassy in Dubai. Asylum seekers deserve a humane, not hostile, environment. Incompetence, delaying tactics, unnecessary complexity and fruitless court cases mock the proud history the Home Office loves to quote, says Edward Milner. UK has not taken in any child refugees under Dobbs' scheme this year. Government accused of dragging its feet as Immigration Minister faces cross-party criticism. Transfers from Europe too slow. Home Office ministers have tried to deflect cross-party anger as it emerged that not a single extra lone child refugee has been brought to Britain from Europe under the Dobbs Amendment this year. Indefinite detention is dehumanizing for refugees. This practice must end. Detention of refugees is a national disgrace. A 28-day time limit on immigration detention, as suggested by Hugh Muir, would be an important start, but does not go far enough. Vulnerable detainees can experience harm from the very outset of being locked up. We must bring an end to this shameful detention system. £48,000 damages awarded to torture survivor for injuries suffered during deportation attempt. Following a 7-day hearing in the High Court, Mr. Felix Wamala, a Ugandan national, was awarded £48,000 in damages for the actions of private security guards contracted by the Home Office in seeking to remove him from the UK. UK unprepared for cap on migration, and cannot count it properly, warn Lords. Britain is in the dark over immigration numbers because the current system for counting movement into and out of the UK is inadequate, a committee of Lords has warned. Companies across the country are also unprepared for a sharp drop in immigration, meaning that the flagship policy to reduce net immigration to below 100,000 a year runs the risk of causing considerable disruption. Immigration authorities at Chennai airport deport 19 UK citizens including children. The citizens were denied entry using the visa they were holding because they were going to work in an NGO. The students had to wait 11 hours before they could board a return flight. Officials refused to give info on the issue and did not say what visa they were holding. If we don't cut all ties with the EU, 1.2 million migrants will head to Britain, claims report. Britain will need to build a city the size of Birmingham every 2 years unless it cuts all ties with Europe. If the UK remains subject to free movement rules, net migration from the EU will continue at around 125,000 a year over the next decade, adding to those from other countries, a report said last night. A soft Brexit will leave the door open to 1.25 million EU immigrants over this time. Government delays starting work on the UK's post-Brexit border system until at least October. Home Secretary Amber Rudd has delayed starting to design the UK's post-Brexit border system until at least the autumn. Originally she said a formal conversation with experts and business would help the government to end freedom of movement as we know it. Escalate racist immigrant policy but no border checkpoints, Senator. The escalation of a tragically racist policy of profiling passengers getting onto planes in Derry and Belfast under the controversial Operation Gull may be on the cards now as the Conservative government seeks to prevent non-EU nationals getting into Britain in the event of Brexit. Thank you for staying with me. See you in the next video.